Welcome back, friends. In today's video, I wanted to flesh out this idea of self-care in the homemaker. I've had a lot of homemaking related topics in my mind lately because I feel this online community has changed a lot in recent years. I started posting specifically about homemaking back in 2019, and back then there was a big community of women encouraging other women to step into their homemaking roles with pride and to value their work at home. We were pushing back against toxic mother culture that viewed children as burdens and motherhood as something to be dreaded, feared, or despised. Over time, as the homemaker community grew online, it quickly became full of rage bait, hot takes, polarizing opinions, and controversy. My friend Caitlin from Mrs. Midwest, one of the OG homemaking creators on here, has a great video diving into some of the crazy things that have worked their way into the homemaking space. I would encourage you to watch her video for a deep dive on that. But today I wanted to talk about self-care in the homemaker because it kind of feels like self-care has become a dirty word in today's homemaking space. Like I said earlier, the homemaking community started out very counter to the wine mom culture. Wine mom culture is this idea that you have to have vices to cope with your kids and the constant complaining about your life, your children, and your role as a stay-at-home mom. I think we all have the ability to fall into a complaining spirit in our flesh, but it's definitely not something we want to magnify, glorify, or use as an online persona. But it seems that in an effort to counter this culture, we've overcorrected it a little bit. I want to preface by saying that self-care is never meant to replace your family as your top priority, but rather we do self-care because our families are our top priority. Because taking the time to fill your cup helps you be a more effective mother and homemaker. Obviously, this looks different depending on what season of life you're in, but it is important just the same. Of the many hot takes I've seen lately, one of the ones that seems reoccurring is that homemakers actually don't need breaks from their jobs, and that if you feel that way, it's because of an attitude or a spiritual problem. Yes, sometimes we can slip into a bad attitude, and in that case, if you're in a bad attitude, a break is not going to fix that. But exhaustion and burnout are real things. Everyone needs a break. Whether it's 30 minutes during nap time or a weekend away, everyone needs one from time to time, and it's okay. Even the most seasoned mothers will admit this. Even my own mother, who raised 3 children, homeschooled 3 children, and was home my entire life, says that she doesn't care who you are. Everybody needs a break sometimes. It's not wrong or sinful to desire time to yourself. I think something we don't talk about enough is mental well-being as mothers and homemakers. And I don't mean from a complaining standpoint, but from a perspective of striving to be the best that we can be. While this job is the most fulfilling and rewarding thing I've ever done, it's also been one of the most challenging. And I think it's okay to acknowledge the struggles because we all have them. Hard is not the same thing as bad, but it's still hard. The only way to encourage one another is to come alongside each other in the good and the bad and share it. That kind of leads me to my next point, which is that I've noticed a downplaying of community and friendships for the homemaker, as if community and friendships aren't important or necessary. This will vary from person to person. Some people don't feel the desire for friendships and community outside of family and church. Speaking for myself, even as an introvert, I do desire friendships in my life. I've never been someone with a large circle of friends. Not that there is anything wrong with that, but that's just not how it shook out for me. I do have a few dear friends, and I really value those friendships in my life. And given the opportunity, I enjoy getting together with them, with or without kids, and spending time in fellowship. The occasional girls' night outs are always a treat, even if they don't happen too often. Never underestimate the gift that is fellowship and community. You find friendship all throughout the Bible. It is a blessing in life. I don't feel guilty for going out with my friend away from the home, because the fellowship and encouragement that comes from it only strengthens me, and that benefits my family. The final point I wanted to address is the idea of whether or not you can lose yourself in motherhood. Again, I think this varies person to person. I've seen people say that you can't lose yourself in motherhood, And I've seen people say that you can lose yourself in motherhood. But like I said, I think it varies person by person, and I also think that it's a seasonal thing, and it directly ties into self-care. Becoming a mother and being home full-time in a lot of ways has been very liberating for me. I've been able to start spreading my creative wings again. I've been able to dabble in some hobbies. And I love what the ladies on the Homemaker Chic podcast call celebrating the amateur status. Because I am home, I can put my hand to a lot of different things, usually never mastering them, but I can be an amateur, and that rejoicing and celebrating of the amateur status. All of the things that I enjoy doing, when I do them, it fills my cup. A day of thrifting by myself fills my cup. Time away with my husband fills my cup. Playing with my look and my personal style and makeup fills my cup. None of that takes away from the love I have for my kids, but they are things that make me feel like me. They make me feel like Emily. I've been through seasons in motherhood where I did feel like I was losing myself. My postpartum experience after my second child comes to mind. I didn't have any local friends who were stay-at-home moms. My family were all working or in school. Brendan had just started a new job and he was working a lot of hours. And so I was kind of just by myself, and I was in the pits of postpartum depression, and I was very isolated with 2 under 2. During this time, I did feel like I was losing myself. I had little time to fill my cup, and I remember feeling a lot like I wasn't a person by the end of the day, because all I did all day long, and I know that taking care of life, it's enough. As long as you're taking care of your children, like that's enough. But it was hard not to feel like at the end of my day, all I had done was feed people and wipe butts. So it was during this time that I took up baking after the kids went to bed. It was very small, but just doing that little bit of something creative really helped to fill my cup during that time of desperation. This is why I do believe that self-care is so important to the homemaker. Obviously, it's easier for some than others depending on the season that you're in. If you're in the throes of postpartum, you're going to have a lot less time to fill your cup than somebody who has a 3 and a 5-year-old like I do. I know that where self-care is concerned, the bubble bath really gets a bad rap. But in some seasons, a bubble bath at the end of your day might be the most self-care that you can do. Maybe a new skincare routine, or maybe just sitting on the porch for a few minutes with your cup of coffee before your kids wake up. It can be as small as that, or it can be as elaborate as a weekend away with your husband. You can figure that out. And if you're not somebody that has a lot of time, try to structure your day so that you have a little bit of time, be it nap time, quiet time, or maybe getting up earlier before the kids, or staying up later after the kids go to bed. That one used to be my go-to, to stay up later than everybody else. I don't do that so much anymore. Now I try to get up earlier, but you can find some little time, if you can just find a little bit of time to find something to fill your cup with, and it will help you. I know there's that expression that says that you can't pour from an empty cup, and a lot of people in the homemaking space I've seen argue over that and say that you can pour from an empty cup. And the thing is, you can. Sometimes you don't have a choice. When you're in the thick of it and there is no break coming, sometimes you don't have a choice but to pour from an empty cup. And that's part of what we're called to as mothers, is self-sacrifice. As a parent, just a parent in general, there's a lot of self-sacrifice, dying to self, because you brought this child into the world and you owe them to take care of them, and you love them and you want to do the best job that you can. And that involves a lot of self-sacrifice. And sometimes you don't have a choice. When your kids are sick, my kids have been sick a lot lately, and you're just kind of at the mercy of the sickness and you're cooped up in the house. Sometimes you don't have a choice but to pour from an empty cup. But I think that the argument is not so much can you or can you not pour from an empty cup, but how much more effective can you be as a homemaker and a mother and a wife and a friend and a daughter if you take some time to fill your cup when possible. Like I said, not always possible, but when it is possible, if you can find what it is that makes your heart sing, what it is that fills your soul, and you can do those things in little increments or in large increments to fill your soul, to feel like yourself, to encourage your heart. In doing those things, I always find that I am a more effective, productive, proactive homemaker. I'm a better mother. I'm able to come back into my home with a fresh headspace and a fresh heart and encouragement. And it really, all of these things, friendship, hobbies, time away, thrifting, getting a break, self-care, all of these things are like balm for the soul of the homemaker and mother, and they're so necessary to help us keep going, because this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. There is even not really a finish line, because your kids may grow up and move out, but you're still going to worry about them, and you're still going to be a parent, and you're still going to have a home to take care of. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so we should take our rest and take our breaks and do our self-care, whatever that looks like for you. We need to fill our own cups so that we can have longevity for the journey as a homemaker. So those are my thoughts. I hope that it's been encouraging to you. I hope that maybe, not that you need my permission, but I hope that if you have been struggling with this idea of self-care and feeling like it takes away from your home, I hope that you will just take this as permission to take a little time to fill your cup, or to figure out what it is that you enjoy doing that will fill your cup, or to start trying to find some community around you. I hope that it's been encouraging. If it has, please make sure you thumbs up the video. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.